These 8 big things will make your life easier going into Janthir Wilds. Alright, so the first tip is if you're one of those who pre-ordered the game like myself, you got these infinite Eldritch mining tools that are currently sad and possibly glyphless if you didn't buy any. But have no fear, as ArenaNet pulled a psych on all of us. Grab your tools and head to a Black Lion Exchange specialist, such as this one here in Lion's Arch. Once you talk to them, you'll be able to trade your tools for a set that gives you back the exact same tool each time, but with the addition of a selectable gathering glyph for all your gathering needs. If you don't have any glyphs at all, I highly recommend Glyph of Volatility for all of them. If you have those already, you may want to dive deep into min-max research on certain tools with glyphs, as there's a few that can actually be slightly better than just the generic Glyph of Volatility. But volatility is never a bad choice. Now, a big question from people who haven't started the story or are just now getting into it that I've been hearing is, how do you unlock spears and homesteads? Which brings me to my second and third tips. They're both tied to the main story and pretty early on at that. Spears are unlocked during Chapter 2 of the story, Diplomacy and Discovery. You'll end up over at the Sleuth Brawl Fields, and after talking to some people, they'll unlock the Lowland Coden Mastery track for you, and you'll need to train the Lowland Spear Training Mastery, which costs 2 mastery points. Work on some map completion and do the new tiered hearts, and you'll have this ready to go in no time. Now, a little bit further in, you're going to unlock your homestead during Story Chapter 3, Home Sweet Home. You won't need any masteries to finish this step and unlock the homestead, but you do need 10 honey flowers, which can only be gathered from the lowlands, as well as 30 refined homestead wood, which you make by processing wood at the lumber mill during the quest. Do not process it before you get to that step of the story and are ready to finish all of it, or you'll have to do it again. I learned that the hard way because I accidentally made the wrong bed and I had to go recollect honey flowers and had to remake the wood, even though I made like 40 of the wood more than I needed at the time anyway. If you're like me and have a mountain of elderwood logs, you can use 120 of those to refine down to the 30 wood you need. Simple enough. And a little bonus tip for you completionists out there. You should also pick up this jug of Wildflower Sizer from Wistful Dove just outside of the Sleuth Brawl Fields before you move on, as it's required for the Returning Kindness achievement, thanking Deft Lahar and Patient Willow for their help in the process of making your house a home. But getting away from the story, let's talk about those tiered hearts I mentioned earlier for tip number 4. Now, this is a new system. It is the return of repeatable hearts, but with improvements. First of all, the heart's progress is never reset on you. Daily reset will not ruin your progress, so fear not, brave adventurers. The second thing is that as you complete the hearts, you eventually tier them up. 14 completions will be required to get you the best possible tier, tier 5. I'm currently still working on leveling mine up. Each character can complete a heart once per day, so normally it would take 14 days of full completion of a heart to reach tier 5. However, the tier progress is account-wide. I have tested this multiple times, and doing the same heart on different characters on the same day will not award you with bonus tier completion. You can only progress 1 level per day. While this can be tedious since these hearts have a larger area but feel slower on average, events get you a significant boost if they're attached to the heart. Now, I do have 2 bonus tips about this. That's right, I'm not just leaving you with just 8 tips. Events in the zones can reward you with renown tokens, which will give you progress towards a heart if you use them to purchase the progress in the vendor's screen of an uncompleted heart. You can buy 4 per day per heart, and with the acceptance of the Coden Mastery, they give you more renown progress per bar. So you can max out a heart by only using 4 of these with that upgrade. Once you've completed a heart, you're also able to purchase once per day for 1050 karma Lowland Coden Expertise, which gives you a 24-hour stacking up to 6 buff that will increase your experience, karma, gold, gains of materials, and more. The amazing thing about this buff is that when you purchase one additional one, it resets the timer for the entire stack. So as long as you come and buy one every 23 hours playing that character, this buff will never run out, making it very, very easy to maximize your games in Janthir Wilds. I intend to do a full deep dive into the tiered hearts rewards once I finish those up, but it's going to take me a little bit to get to that, obviously. Now, tip number 5 is going to be related to your Warclaw. You veterans probably already have one, but anyone new to it with Janthir Wilds will get it very, very early on in the storyline. Obviously, this Warclaw is very ingrained in the story and the experience of the expansion, but you should also make sure you're using it as much as possible outside of that to get the most out of this expansion. You see, the number 2 smell skill now can also find buried Coden caches, which contain, among other loot, unusual coins, which are very useful. Most of them are minor caches, but occasionally you'll unearth or find some that need to be opened with cache keys purchased from coin collectors. Not to mention there's an achievement for unearthing 100 of these things, so as long as you're traveling cross-country, you may as well pile up the loot at the same time. Now, tip number 6 is about masteries. Any seasoned Guild Wars 2 player knows the horror of thinking they can progress the story only to find out no. No, in fact, you need to go grind mastery points and experience before you can do this one specific thing that you may never do again. Well, I'm here to tell you the good news is the only story required mastery I bumped into the entire time was the spear training mastery as mentioned earlier in this video, which is the first mastery of the Lowland Coden track and very quick to get because of that. Now, I do have some recommendations. In order to really stand a good chance at the Warclaw races, you're going to need the tier 2 mastery, Feline Reflexes in the Warclaw mount track, so you can double jump in midair. It'll require 5 total mastery points to get. However, to get the most bang for your buck, I recommend shooting straight down the Lowland Coden mastery track, as you're going to unlock additional renown rewards from turning in renown tokens as I mentioned earlier, a chance to get map-specific materials from any material node you gather in Janthir, increased experience earned while in Janthir, and gaining additional currency items when you complete events in Janthir Wilds. So literally, just more rewards for the same amount of effort, which is exactly what we're about here on this channel. Now, we've been in Janthir Wilds this whole time, but what if we leave and then want to go back? Well, tip number 7 is for you. Now, as of right now, we don't have a portal in Lion's Arch, and even our homestead doesn't have a way to just walk out of it. The most direct way is to fork over the money for a waypoint. If you really want to get back to Janthir without paying anything, however, there is a new permanent portal available, but it is north of the Palace Waypoint in Divinity's Reach, around the back where it was for the story. You do have to have progressed at least as far on that character that you're trying to send through it in the story, otherwise it's just not phased in, which is sad but understandable news for our alt parking adventures. Now, tip number 8 is here because I've seen a ton of people asking for help in map chat with this, which is this point of interest right here, south of the Autumn's Vale waypoint. The point of interest is called Queen's Confidence, and you get to it by actually jumping off of the cliff down into this plant growth in the river, swimming under the tunnel, and then back up and coming out in a giant underground beehive, which is actually really cool. There's a champion event that pops up here from time to time to defeat the Bee Queen, and there's also a fun jumping puzzle here that you can do once per day to get a Mersat runestone that you'll need for legendary crafting, or you can sell it to make money if you're not into that sort of thing. And in this video right here, I'll show you exactly how to do that jumping puzzle, as well as the other hidden one in the lowlands, so you don't have to struggle through it.